Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest Tuesday night Q&A with myself, Matt Derrick, and of course our good friend Nick Jacobs will be joining us later. It is Arrowhead Invitational week once again after a one-year absence. The AFC Championship game back at Arrowhead. Hoping for a great conversation tonight. Always do with all of your great questions. Yes, Luttrell. See if Nick's got some epic rants. I don't know if I have anything necessarily fired up in the chamber, but I mean, I can drag something out if necessary. So, and yes, always enjoy any game you get to watch Travis Kelce. It is always a thing of beauty getting to watch Hall of Famers do their thing, and enjoy it as long as you possibly can. And Chris, glad you heard. Yeah, that was on the Jody Mack show after the game on Saturday night. So glad you heard that. And I'll just go ahead and fire with the first question because I don't think I have a lot of thoughts to get off my chest tonight or anything. Nothing really breaking of news. We'll see this week. But Chris got the first question. Out of all 7 conference finals, where's your level of confidence in KC for Sunday? Good question. I mean, I am taking the Chiefs to win. And I mean, I do expect it's going to be a close game. So I'm taking Chiefs by 1. So you can tell what kind of confidence I guess my level is right there. And I have a hard time thinking back through all of the games, and because I have a hard time remembering. I'd have to go back and look at what I wrote, and maybe if I can find some audio of what I said about 2018, because I feel like I probably took the Patriots to win that one. It just seemed like that point, Chiefs, I just didn't believe quite yet. 2019, I think I took the Chiefs. I think that's when the run started. I mean, I would say, gosh, I mean, it's not as confident as probably the last couple of years. I mean, last year I did just feel like the Chiefs were team of destiny, that they were just on their way and they could do it. Although there was a little bit of doubt. I don't know. I mean, I feel like probably middle of the pack, Chris. I mean, I don't think this is the most confident that I've been that the Chiefs are going to win going into an AFC Championship game. I feel like there's some that I have been more confident, some that less confident. So I feel like probably 3 or 4. I mean, middle of the pack. I mean, it doesn't really matter what I think, but just from this team and covering them over the years and everything, yeah. I mean, I do. I think they're gonna. I think they're going to win a close game. I mean, it's just kind of what they do. So, like I said, I mean, I feel like I've probably been more comfortable and confident in some of those games. I mean, 2019, I thought that team was a team of destiny. They were getting ready to win that one. So 19 and 23, I'd probably put 22 maybe, but yeah, I mean, that's where I think they would probably kind of fall like 3 and 4. So, although 20 was I mean, that was going to be in, you felt like that team was going to roll all the way. So maybe I should say 4 or 5 rather than 3 and 4, but probably not the smoothest answer of all time, but I'm going to go with somewhere between 3 and 5, Chris. Let's see. Any idea from Luttrell on the reason behind DeHop's usage? Chiefs need the score in the red zone this week. I mean, and I think hopefully we'll get into this with Nick, because I think he has a really good explanation for kind of the way that the Chiefs just ran last week. And, and part of it was that the Chiefs were really worried about the corners for the Texans. They really just didn't want to challenge them. I think they threw at Stingley 3 times. Have to go back and look at the numbers to see how much they challenged the other corners, but they just really wanted to clear out the middle of the field for Travis, and it worked. So, but I was disappointed that the Chiefs didn't get DeHop a pass. Even late, I don't think that the Texans honestly would have minded. They would have understood George trying to keep his catch streak alive. Guy had caught a pass in every single game of his NFL career until Saturday. So even if they just run a little bubble screen or even a jet sweep, something for DeAndre, like I said, I think it would have been nice. I don't think the Texans would have thought they were trying to run up the score or anything. So I was a little disappointed in that. But I think you're going to see more DeHop. I think you're going to see more Hollywood going forward. They're going to get them. I think the wide receivers are going to be more involved this week because I don't think that they're worried about the Bills corners as much as they were the Texans. I think they're going to have a different game plan, different kind of attack. So, and I mean, red zone, yes, they need to be more effective in the red zone for sure. I'm just more convinced they need to run the ball more in the red zone. And frankly, I mean, I was half joking about it, but I was saying on Saturday during the game, as soon as they got inside the 20, it was like, just get the ball to Kareem until you get into the end zone. Because I think Kareem is going to get you if you've got 1st and 10 inside the 20, he's going to get you a first down. And once he gets you a first down, he can get you into the end zone, 1st and goal. So I at this point, I would just pound it with Kareem until you get into the end zone, and having throws designed for either DeAndre or Travis would be fine as a second option. But those are about the only 3 plays I would call if I'm the Chiefs in the red zone. But we'll see what they do. But I was a little surprised at the usage and everything on Saturday with just kind of everybody. But I understood it because what the Chiefs were trying to do was just simply win a ball game. And they figured out a way that they could win without pulling out all of Andy Reid's bag of tricks. So they got a full bag of tricks for however many games are left on this schedule. You love that picture of Mahomes. Yeah, he had not a lot of crazy touchdowns, but that one is, like I said, I mean, that throw is going to be on the Hall of Fame reel for at least a couple of guys when they go into the Hall of Fame. Patrick, Travis, maybe Andy Reid, might be a few others. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, that one's up there. If you've got some others you think are crazier, I mean, gosh, why am I blanking on the other Williams name? Dirty Williams. His the pass that hit him in the head. You can tell I'm getting old because I forget guys' first names and can't pronounce their last names sometimes. Yeah, Dirty. He had the against Tampa Bay. I mean, that was the craziest Mahomes throw that I've ever seen that could have been completed. And there's some others, but yeah, that one was a heck of a play. That's why I had to use that picture when I had a chance to get to it. So, Dustin, concerned about Hollywood and DeHop not being utilized in the Texans game was on purpose. How do we not utilize them against the Bills? You're going to. I mean, I think that's the short answer. And like I said, I mean, I can't wait till Nick gets in here because I might even circle back. We may have some more. I see more DeHop questions down the line, so I know it's going to keep coming up. So I can't wait for Nick to kind of weigh in on this because he's got a really good, I think, take on all of this. But really, I mean, the basics of it is that Hollywood and DeHop were kind of decoys against the Texans. I mean, it wasn't really that they weren't being utilized. They were being utilized as decoys to clear out the middle of the field. And that worked effectively because obviously Travis Kelce was absolutely wide open more than a couple of times. And that was because of the work those other guys were doing. That, they were taking the traffic out to the side. They were keeping the corners preoccupied. They were keeping the safeties worried about what was going on the boundaries, and therefore, really opening up the middle of the field. And so that worked. I don't think you're going to use the same strategy against the Bills because even though they got some injury problems, their safeties are stronger than their corners. So I do think that you're going to attack them on the outside. I think you are going to throw against these corners. And DeHop is going to be, to me, a prime target because I think you can go up against any of these Bills corners and get contested catches for you. I think Hollywood has got the speed and the moves to just about beat anybody that the Bills are going to put on him, short of a double team, bracketing him with a safety. And I mean, that once again may open up things for Travis, especially if last week forces the Bills to put even more attention on him. It's going to open up everything on the outside for everybody else. Hollywood, DeHop, Worthy, you name it. So I would not be concerned about how Hollywood and Hopkins were used against the Texans because I think you're going to see a completely different, more wide open game plan against the Bills this weekend. Brandon, is DeHop injured? I want to see more Hunt than Pacheco. Agreed. I think you're going to get a lot of agreement there. And do you think this is the most important game at Arrowhead ever? I mean, I'll take that last one first. I see why you're asking it, just because, I mean, it's the last one you need before you go for history. But I mean, I think there's others. I mean, to me, getting this team getting back to the Super Bowl, I think was a more important game at Arrowhead. So that 2019 AFC Championship game was, I think, more important. This one could be number two. I mean, just as far as the legacy goes, because yeah, I mean, you can't win the third one unless you win this one. So this is obviously a key step, and in that way of thinking, I mean, the divisional game might have been the most important or second most important divisional game in Arrowhead history. So uh, if you want to make that case, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, I think it's a good one, but I think overall, I think the 2019 playoff run was more important because it's just got the monkey off this team's back of just absolutely for all these years not being able to win the big one. So finally winning the big one was a big deal. Wanting to see more Hunt and Pacheco. I mean, technically, we did see more Hunt and Pacheco. Hunt had more snaps. I think he ended up with more touches too. I mean, I'm looking at it earlier, and I was like, did I misread that? I may have even. Well, no, here when I go over to it, I have the regular season box score up. So let me go back over. But and some of you probably want to say it was like 8-5. I mean, it wasn't enough touches, I thought, for either one of them. But yeah, Kareem 8 touches, Pacheco 5 out of the backfield. Hunt had an extra touch as a receiver, so technically more snaps, more touches. But I mean, 8 runs for Kareem out of the backfield, 9 touches overall. That's not huge to me, and especially because I think that guy right now is the better running back, at least the more efficient running back. Pacheco is absolutely most likely injured. I mean, he's been dealing with the ribs from the Steelers game. Obviously, he's probably not 100% coming back from the ankle injury. So, but if the managing Kareem's load on Saturday was to let him go 100% full load, no holding back in the AFC Championship game and the potential Super Bowl game, then I think that's a good move. So if it paid off for you that you're able to get by the Texans without a lot of Kareem, and you plan on using him a lot in the next game or two, that's the plan, and that's a good plan. So they got away with it if that's the plan. I don't see any indication that DeHop is hurt. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think if he's been listed on an injury report. Let me pull that up real quick because off the top of my head, I just don't remember him being on an injury report. Haven't seen him limited in any ways when I just either just talking to him in the locker room or on the limited time that we do get on the practice field. And I know there's a lot of you that remember this off the top of your heads. I have too much to remember sometimes to keep it all at the top of my head. Nick will chastise me for that because I should remember everything. But no, I mean, he hasn't been on the injury report, so I don't get that sense. I mean, the man is 30 plus years old, so I think that probably has more to do with it than anything else. And remember too, I mean, he still doesn't have the full offense necessarily completely at his disposal. But again, I mean, if managing D-Hop snaps and Kareem snaps in the divisional round was purposeful for letting them go crazy in the next couple of games, if that's the case, that's not a bad strategy. I mean, they're both older guys, so if now you feel like that they are completely and totally ready to go for it. So, Sharon, I'm going to hold your question since you were asking that for Nick too, and not specifically, and I want to make sure you get that answer from Nick, and he's going to be here pretty soon. So I'll just bring you back here after skipping you for a second. Luttrell, do you think KC's offense will break 30 points this offseason? Do they have another level still? Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt they have another level, and they'll tap into it when they need to. I mean, they didn't need it on Saturday, and I mean, it's Andy Reid. Andy Reid's not going to just put the throttle down for no reason. I mean, he'll score points if he has to, but I mean, I still think that for the most part, Andy Reid would prefer not to get into a shootout. I mean, because I think he knows that when you get into a shootout, things become unpredictable. But I think he feels like that if possessions are limited in a game, I think he feels like that's going to be to his advantage, even though a lot of other teams are trying to limit possessions in Chiefs games because they feel like if they can do that, they can make it a one-possession game, and maybe they have the chance of being the team that makes that play. I think Andy Reid feels the opposite. I think he feels like, hey, if teams want to limit the possessions that we're all having, like, great, I'm going to go out there and run some 7-minute, 15-play drives and just eat up as much clock as they want to. Because I think he feels like that they can be more efficient and they're going to score more points in the end. I mean, it doesn't matter about who's first to 30 as long as you have the most points at the end of the game. It's pretty much that's all Andy Reid cares about. Doesn't care about style points or how many points you score, how many you win by, as long as you win. And I think the man has probably been through enough shootouts in his life to know that shootouts are unpredictable. I mean, the Chiefs had the best offense in the NFL in 2018. And what did it do for them? I mean, yes, it got them to the AFC Championship game and also put them in a hole. It was so desperate that they didn't quite climb out of it. I mean, they pushed that game to overtime, but that's a game that got away from them. And yes, that team could score at will, but it couldn't necessarily stop anybody. And yes, part of that was defensive, but part of it also was just that they put a lot of stress on that defense back in those days. And that's another reason why this Chiefs offense is more deliberate than it used to be, because they're trying to play complementary football. They're trying to make sure that they don't put too much stress on their defense. So I don't think the Chiefs have to score 30 to win. They haven't been necessarily, and they've been winning. So, but I do believe they have another level because I think that they're healthy now. I think that they've got enough weapons that if they needed to go down the field in a hurry, they can. I don't think that's an issue. If they get in a boat race with somebody, I think they can outscore them, but I just don't think that they want to. One thing I do want to do, however, as opposed to the Chiefs not wanting to do something or wanting to do something, that was a terrible segue. I'm just going to bring Nick Jacobs in.
Hello, Matt Derrick.
I tried to do a cool segue, Nick, and I completely botched it. So
you're doing the show on a segue? That's awesome, man. How are you keeping your balance?
But I need a drum track.
No, we don't need a drum track. That's expensive. It's probably got right issues to it, I'm sure.
Just a little drum roll of some sort. How are you this evening?
I'm here for the fellowship and the DeAndre Hopkins questions, and I'm sure the Joshua Williams questions that I keep getting on the old social media.
Well, we'll get you some Josh questions. I might have to get you some Joshua Allen questions.
All right. I'm good. That one I haven't gotten yet.
Just to make sure, groceries and lottery tickets purchased?
No lottery tickets. It's all back down to 20 million. Too many people won. I said, sorry, we closed up shop. You'll need a couple more weeks.
There's no reason to play when it's only 20 million.
I mean, not right now because of how much they take out tax-wise, which you just actually made me want to find out now. So I'm going to have to look that up.
Well, then, now that we have, I'm just terrible in the segues tonight, Nick. I mean, I might as well I'm like,
all right. So you ready? Okay. So
my brain's stuck.
Since they're $20 million, you ready for the number?
Okay.
The actual payout, if you take a lump sum, is only $8.9 million. After taxes, it's $5.6 million. And then in the state of Missouri, after they take out the 7.2 tax and the additional final rate tax, it's $4.7 million.
Well, that's not ideal.
So I'm probably going to play tomorrow now, since I just saw those numbers.
It's still enough to live your dreams.
Matt, you ain't kidding, buddy. You're not kidding.
Well, there you go. So, but grocery shopping all done. That's the most important part.
Yeah, it's already. Yeah, don't worry. I got that set aside for you. I was already back home by 6:15. Groceries all situated by 6:40. Then I watched some coaches film real quick, and here we are.
There you go. Well, then we'll just get into it here.
Yes, Matt. Let's get this party started. Let's light this candle.
To the Josh Allen question from Sharon. Who should spy Josh Allen? Who will spy, or will a spy be routinely used?
So last time they played, I was hoping to see one, and they didn't use one. And so anytime they got out of their rush lanes and didn't contain, then Josh ran right, took off every time, every single time. In fact, just watching coaches film it was 12 times. So that was on my playlist. And so the Chiefs are going to have to figure out if they want to continue to do outside shoulder rushes, because when they were doing outside shoulder rushes, the offensive linemen for the Bills are good enough. They just rode them upfield, just drove them upfield, kept riding with them upfield, and then Josh was able to pick his spot pretty much each time. And it wasn't just one player. There was a time where Carlotos got out of place, a couple times where Chris got out of place, and there was nobody in there to fill for it. So, in my opinion, you've got to, one, don't drop any of your defensive linemen in the zone coverage, because they did that a couple of times, and that burned them. Because there was nobody replaced quick enough, and Josh took off. So, just throw that out of the playbook this week, unless you want to use it for an unexpected down where Josh Allen is facing a 3rd and 20 or something. I don't know. But I wouldn't do that. They got to be better at containing. And if I were them, I would have a spy ready for the spot where the lane gets vacated and nobody's there to maintain. And I know it sounds weird to say, but like they need to, in between those A and B gaps, they need to have somebody dedicated to that first lane you see start to go that way. Because there was a time whenever Josh motioned one of the running backs out, and he specifically did that to force Tranquil to go over a gap and a half and to make Bolton go over another gap and a half, because where they were right in the gaps where Josh was going to potentially either run or cut back. So Josh specifically moved them to get that first down when they did that. And then when they do their version of the tush push from Philly, Chiefs aren't stopping it. It's not going to happen. They just don't have the size to stop that. So the Bills are probably going to be getting a first down off that. Doesn't mean that the Chiefs don't try. Doesn't mean the Chiefs don't give all their effort. It's just that situation is probably not going to work out. So if the game's on the line with that, I have my concerns about them being able to do that.
I mean, that's the one thing that, they didn't really play a lot of a spy the last time against the Bills. And I mean, and it definitely hurt them. I mean, in a couple of different ways. I mean, not only with the Allen scrambles. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, they did, I thought, a relatively good job of containing Allen on the outside. They just did a terrible job containing on the inside. But also the Bills, I mean, they owned the middle of the field in that game, not just at the line of scrimmage, but just also over the middle in the passing game too. And so that raises the specter for me of, hey, do you play a little zone as far as maybe having a guy, whether it's a safety like Jaden Hicks coming down to then be able to cover, or, just make sure Allen doesn't escape. You play a linebacker in that spot. I mean, Leo can do that. He's just not going to be as good as covering the passing part of it. But if he can be in a body and occupy the middle of the field, maybe that will loosen things up. But I think that the Chiefs, and that's the one thing, Nick, that's, I don't know if we talked a lot about, but I don't think you and I maybe have spent a lot of time talking about it. But the Chiefs have, I mean, with their, let's say, just concerns about their corners, they've been playing a lot of nickel and dime with 3 and 4 safeties versus even 3 corners at times, because I think they trust their safeties a lot more than their corners.
Yeah.
And I mean, and in this case with Buffalo this time around, looking like they're going to have all their tight ends healthy. I mean, that could be maybe. I mean, is it one of those cases where, the Chiefs now have the flexibility that if they're playing multiple safeties, they can kind of do what Spags did in 2019 when he had Kendall Fuller and Tyrann Mathieu. You can play, coverages, and you can play your looks, but you're not giving anything away. You're not letting Josh Allen know, okay, well, Justin Reed's over here, so he's going to blitz, or Trent McDuffie's here, he's going to blitz, or Jamari Connor's here, this is what he's going to do. I mean, if you can mirror yourself like they used to, you're not giving anything away.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, to answer the other part of the question, who should spy? If I'm the Chiefs, I use Jaden Hicks. I use somebody that's a physical force, has the athletic ability, and can deliver the hit. Jaden Hicks is probably the first guy. A healthy Justin Reid, I would not be against either. Those would be the 2 guys safety-wise that I would really like to see be utilized in that form, because they have the speed and the physicality to be able to hit Josh Allen with a purpose to discourage him from wanting to run on a regular basis. Doesn't mean that he won't, because he'll still try, because he wants to be Superman sometimes, and he wants the ball in his hands to win the game. just like Shane Falco from the Replacements. And that's what's gonna happen. That's what happened on that play against the Chiefs when they went for it, and Josh Allen scored a touchdown to win the game. Like that play is only going to encourage him more to try to do that against the Chiefs. He's going to want the ball in his hands. He's going to be the one that wants to make the play. And there's got to be times where Steve Spagnuolo and them know that and say, okay, that's what you want to do? Watch this.
I'm going to bring up this question because I told Ethan to do this. And as he noted, I told him to bring up the question about equipment that gets reused from game to game. And amazingly enough, Ethan, Thursday, I'm trying to remember my days of the week because it was a Saturday game. Thursday, I actually did grab one of the equipment guys and said, hey, I've got somebody on our podcast, on the live Q&A, on our live stream, that wanted to know about equipment, about what gets used and what they go through and what, stays with the players, through the seasons and everything. And he said it really depends on the player. He says, one, helmets, usually most players go through a few helmets during the season because they get dinged up and broken. I mean, you saw Mahomes have his helmet broken in the middle of a game. Normally that's not when they get replaced. Normally it's after games and between games and everything. And obviously most guys get brand new jerseys every week, because either they're trading them after the game or they're keeping them. A lot of the guys, for instance, got their first starts in Denver, didn't trade their jerseys. I mean, Chris Oladokun got to play his first NFL game in that game. He was like, I wasn't trading it with anybody. I want to keep that for the rest of my life. I mean, that's important to me. So a lot of players did that. But when it comes to thigh pads, things like that and everything, they say, he says they just replace them when they get worn out. Some players, they love wear the same pads every year. He said, like Justin Winchester, he said, I think it's worn some of the same pads for 10 years because he's a long snapper. Some of it doesn't get worn out that much. So, and some guys, he said it's everything. Some guys go through socks faster than other guys. Some guys want brand new socks every single week. So some of that's a little bit different, but I know, for instance, Nick, you've just seen this too. Like when you're talking about the shells that guys wear, shoulder pads and everything, there are guys in that locker room wearing their pads from college. You'll see some guys in there that have their college logos and everything on their pads because that's where they got them and they're comfortable with them. They like them. They don't want to change, so they keep wearing them. So some of that stuff they'll wear for years. The lighter duty stuff they'll go through faster. But I asked that just for you, Ethan. So, and your second part of your question about what do you guys do during commercials and halftimes as writers at the games? Probably the same things you do, Ethan. I'll admit, Saturday, I made a few runs for the hot cocoa because even though I was indoors and it was nice, Nick, I enjoy cocoa. I enjoy hot chocolate. So I was all over that. You have to go to the restroom. And at halftime, they feed us more food. So there's hot dogs and chicken strips. So other than that, you're just continuing to work and write and so on and so forth. But what's your life at the station, Nick, between during halftime and during commercials?
You go to the bathroom or work. I don't tweet much during games anymore because you get 50 people that want to argue with you about anything you tweet. So I'm done with that. I'll tweet it out, make this conversation, move on with my life if I want to put it out there.
Definitely a little down on Twitter this week. Chris's next question up: thoughts on the NFC Championship game? Kind of interested about your thoughts here, Nick, because I've said all along. I thought the Commanders could go anywhere from bowing out in the wild card round to winning the Super Bowl, and they're still keeping that alive. So,
getting complaints about my microphone?
I was just getting ready to text you that I think your microphone is a little loose. We are getting some static from you.
All right, you answer it while I work.
I was going to say, Chris, I like... there you go. Static's gone. Oh, no, there's a lot of static. But I was going to say, Chris, I think the Eagles are the better team. I don't think there's any doubt the Eagles are the better team. I give the Commanders a chance because Jaden Daniels is an absolute wild card. I mean, he's the X factor in every game. If he doesn't make mistakes, they can beat anybody. He's athletic enough that he can make plays that are just absolutely out of this world. But I'm taking the Eagles in this one. But once again, would not surprise me if the Commanders make it to get it done.
Are we good now?
You sound great now.
Awesome. It's called static electricity. You have to unplug an XLR cable, replug it back in, and then it's gone. So now we're all good. So we can stop lighting up the comment section with it.
If only I had an XLR cable. Mine's just a USB cable. That's why I probably don't sound as good as you when you don't have static.
It's fixed now. So we're good.
Woohoo!
Don't worry about it anymore.
Eagles Commanders. What do you think, Nick?
Oh, I don't care. The Eagles got a good run game. We'll see if the Commanders can stop it. Selfishly, I'd love to see the Commanders in the Super Bowl. Whether it's the Chiefs or Bills, I think it'll be interesting. Anything that involves Nick Sirianni's success, I'm always against.
There you go.
So there's my thoughts.
That's a good thought. Alex, hearing rounds of rumors, this may be Travis Kelce's last home game. Any truth to this? I mean, I don't pay much attention to tabloids, Nick, but I have at least seen enough this week to have seen both rumors that this is going to be his last season to rumors that Taylor has told him to play as long as he wants to.
So the only part I'm going to address of that, about the second part that you said, is Travis literally said verbatim on the Stephen A. Smith show. Taylor's encouraging him to play as long as he wants. So that's directly from Travis on the Stephen A. Smith show. And Travis is undecided because Travis talked about on the Stephen A. Smith show about how he enjoys what he's doing. And you could tell whenever Stephen's asking him some of those questions that he doesn't want to give football up yet. We'll see what happens. But, we'll see what happens in the weeks ahead and the months ahead and what he decides to do. And, either way, he's earned the opportunity, whatever he wants to do, whether he wants to continue playing and let his body significantly rest like he needs to, or if he wants to or if he decides that he's emptied the tank as much as he can. And,
if I'm anybody in Travis's orbit, and that would include Andy Reid and Brett Veach, anybody else, Patrick Mahomes, if Travis comes to you tomorrow, February 15th, March 12th, anytime in the next 90 days, I'd say wait until June, July, August, wait. Because dude's going to keep himself in shape. He's whatever he wants to do next, he needs to be in shape for. So he's going to continue to be in shape. But just take your time, wait and see, because that's the thing, is that even though he's getting to a point now where he's got a little bit more going on in his personal life and the other side of his life, that's a guy to me, Nick, that I think is really going to miss the camaraderie of the locker room. He's really going to, when he moves on, he's going to really miss that. And he's also said he wants to play until the wheels fall off. I don't think the wheels have completely fallen off yet. And I will say this, that if, Andy Reid said to him, hey, Travis, why don't you play 8 games next year? Why don't you come in at the trade deadline? Keep yourself in shape. We'll just know that you're not going to be here until November. I still think Travis Kelce can give you 12 games a year. And if he came in and played half a season and postseason, I think he'd still be a remarkable player. But am I just crazy, Nick?
I think his body can use all the rest it can handle anymore these days. So I think he'll give everything that he's got available to himself athletically.
And I'll grant you that there is no doubt that man has. It's taken it. His body's paying a toll for everything. It definitely hurts. So. Mr. M. Mecole Hardman's activation window closes tomorrow. Do you think the Chiefs will opt to leave him on injured reserve? Nick, Andy kind of gave us a muddled answer on Monday. that definitely made me think that Mecole's probably staying on IR.
I don't have a stance on it either way. And the only reason I say that is because Mecole did play in that Bills game, and there were certain ways that they used him. So I don't I think at minimum they wanted to make sure they had an insurance if they needed it and needed a player to be able to come on the 53. I think they were doing the same thing with Jaylen, and then they were able to use Jaylen. I'm not going to discount McColl yet. But obviously, I think this is where the window ends this week if they don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's unless there's an injury that we don't know about or anything like that. I mean, they would have to clear a roster spot for him. I don't think that they're completely ready to, give up on a Nico Remigio. So I just don't know if there's a spot for him right now. But we'll find out on Wednesday. Going over to the super chats, Nick Clinton, your Spags, how to lessen Cook's coverage snaps. This might be up your alley, Nick, because I think you would probably be arguing for a little bit fewer snaps for Brian Cook in coverage.
I don't think they're going to be lessening his snaps. I think he's going to be where he's at, and he's going to get the snaps he's going to get, and that's what they've got him in the position they do. I think he's better coming downhill and doing that versus having to turn and accelerate at different angles, but I don't think his snaps are getting lessened personally.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like they're pretty locked in with what they're doing right now. Although they obviously, like I said, they're playing their safeties a lot more, but they're finding work for Jaden Hicks and Shamari Connor without really impacting Brian Cook's work. So, and Brian did, bless his heart, have some rough moments in coverage on Saturday. But appreciate the super chat, Scott. And also have a super chat question from Martine. Why don't the Chiefs utilize an extra O lineman like Buffalo does for 6 to 10 plays per game? The Chiefs do periodically, Nick. I mean, not to the extent that some other teams do, but what's kind of the upside downside of bringing in a sixth lineman?
Teams know you're going to run the ball. Teams know you're going to run the ball. Chiefs like being unpredictable. So in my book, they want to continue to keep that unpredictability at times, and that's essentially what their 2 and 3 tight end sets are for, to where they can still pass and block, and run block at the same time. So that's why they don't bring in an extra offensive lineman for the most part. Now, as if it's like a third and short play where it's obvious or something like that, they may do it, or a goal line situation, sure. But Buffalo doesn't flat out care because Buffalo's got an O line from left tackle to right tackle that can maul people at times if they need to, and they just don't flat out care. So Chiefs need to keep a little bit of a guessing game from time to time.
And they do. The Chiefs do love to throw to their offensive linemen. So don't think for a minute I didn't love seeing Ethan Driscoll running that tight end route against Denver. I mean, you got to throw the ball to the offensive lineman when you can. So thank you, Martine. Appreciate the super chat as always. Going to Cody, will Jaylen Watson play all the snaps this week? Last time 13 and 27 were giant targets. I mean, Jaylen's workload is going to depend on how Jaylen feels. I mean, I don't think we really have a good handle. I certainly don't have a good handle on that, and I think last time you're talking about maybe against Buffalo, because I know Najee did get picked on a little bit against Buffalo in Week 11. I don't remember what Shamari's stats were in Week 11, Nick. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head.
I remember he had a pretty crucial interception.
There was that, yes. Yes.
But yeah, Najee played like 70. He played like 73 snaps with Watson out, and he was the one they gave the rotation to that week. And I mean, they did go after him on 2 plays with Amari Cooper, but they were perfectly.
That's true. They were
thrown passes, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot that. Now that you're refreshing my memory, because I remember I noted that exact same thing. Was that Najee gave up 2 big plays, but they were 2 big plays that I'm not even sure Trent McDuffie stops. I mean, they were perfectly thrown balls. So, I mean, you're probably going to see less of Najee this week just because Jaylen Watson is back. I won't allude to the other question until it comes up, Nick. So,
whatever do you mean, Matt?
But even Shamari's getting used differently now than he was, and a little bit differently than he was in Week 11. So, we'll see. And maybe, you know what? I mean, Spags can sometimes use that as a trap too. So if he thinks that you're going to target somebody,
there might be a safety rotating over you don't know about.
Exactly.
So yeah, Shamari had 53 snaps in that game and 11 on special teams. and Najee had 73 on defense, and Joshua Williams had 16 on special teams in that last Bills game.
So, we're Nick deep in it right now on the Najee Johnson questions, Nick. So do you want to just tackle it straight on about Najee and
whichever road you want to go, because that's going to be the primary question this week.
If you want to just kind of bat it out of the way with JT's question here about, hey, any idea why Najee Johnson keeps getting the most snaps after struggling so much?
So Najee, I
was going to say, are we going to grant the premise of the question? Has Najee Johnson been struggling so much?
Najee, look, here's the reality about Najee. Like he's a physical guy when he's allowed to come downhill and tackle, and some of those wide receiver screens and everything, and he is able to read those pretty well and help in that regard. He's a lot more versatile to where if they want to use him as an inside corner, they can. I don't think they will probably use him as much as outside corner as they have in the past, personally. And he can play special teams and he can play safety if they need him to. So he has the versatility to where they can use him in multiple roles. And he doesn't. So if he's getting snaps out there, it's not he is getting snaps at right cornerback spot the entire time, like he kind of was at various points whenever they were playing the Bills game and everything. So that's why I think he sees the field. Now, are there certain matchups you want him to have? Yeah, you probably want him to have more of a Khalil Shakir type. You can test him out against Keon Coleman if you want to. I necessarily wouldn't do that an entire game personally. Maybe Mac Hollins at times if they want to. And then, you could potentially, if you need to have him, I don't know, maybe go against the running back out in the flats from time to time, whether it's a man coverage or zone. So the Chiefs will continue. Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt will together collectively put out the guys who can execute their scheme and will be in the spot they are supposed to be. So those are the guys that see the field. Those are the guys that are going to see the field, and the guys who do it the way that they coach and the way that they ask. Those are the guys that are going to see the snaps and routinely see those snaps. And those are who the coaching staff considers the best players to put on the field to help them win a football game every time.
And, that's probably the difference is just that, and maybe we're just picking a little bit here. I mean, Nazee's numbers, you look at them and PFF is one source, and it's not, we could quibble with PFF, and then there's a question about Jaylen's PFF coming up and everything. That's kind of why I was kind of looking at it. Hey, is Jaylen Watson graded out better than Najee? Sure. I can tell you that. Eyes will tell you that Jaylen Watson's better than Najee Johnson right now. Is Najee average? Yeah. You know what? And if you've got 22 starters on a football team, some of them are going to be average. Some of them are going to be below average. So, to me, if I've got a player who grades out as average, that's not necessarily, to me, the end of the world. And I'm not trying to be a Najee Johnson truther here or anything, but it's just
truther. All right, but bold statement there, sir.
Bold statement, but I feel like he's been giving you kind of what he can, and so. I don't have any huge quibbles with the way that Najee has played. I think he's played some good football, some bad football. Kind of like everybody. Is Jaylen better? Sure. He's not healthy though. So that's kind of the tough thing. But you make the great point about the flexibility, because that's probably one of the reasons why they have been favoring Najee, is because if you've got him and Josh Williams, who are roughly similar players, you're probably going to go with the guy who has more versatility.
Yeah, because Josh is more of a big physical outside corner. The thing I'm going to say that a lot of people don't realize is Josh is second in the team in penalties behind Wanye, but not behind Jawan Taylor. And Jawan Taylor, if I remember correctly, has got 13. Josh has got 10, and he's tied with Wanye, who's also got 10. And then every other Chief behind them barely has. I don't even think another Chief is even has 5. And then if you wanted to, I'll say it now, and if you really wanted to, if you wanted to tack on some of Trey Smith's holding penalties and credit those to Jawan from time to time for how deep he gets in his depth, and Trey's got to be the one to hold on to the defender on the twists and stunts from time to time, Jawan's would jump up even more.
There is that. And I guess, I mean, this is my funny remark because Ethan asked about it earlier, about what we do during commercial breaks. This isn't necessarily commercial break, during the game and the press box and everything, but we will make, just remarks and jokes. And a fairly common one is, oh, it's another penalty on Josh Williams. Surprise, surprise. So it has become a catchphrase.
So yeah, I'll do this regular season. I was wrong. Excuse me. Juwan's got 17 this year and 3 more that were declined. So that's where I was getting the 1 and 3 from. Yeah, so he's got 17 this year and 3 additional ones were declined.
It's only 1 a game, Nick. So I don't know what the complaint is.
2 were in week 1, 3 were in week 4, 2 in week 5, 1 in week 10, 1 in week 11 against the Bills. 2 in week 12, 2 in week 13, and 4 in week 17.
So there weren't any in weeks 2 and 15 at least. So
Matt, you make great points. I can't dispute. Can't dispute them. And yeah, Josh has 10 penalties with 1 decline. He's got a face mask, unnecessary roughness, defensive holding, horse collar tackle. He has 2 player out of bounds on the kick from him running out of bounds on punts. He's got illegal contact, face mask, illegal use of hands, and he's got a false start.
My ability to find the silver lining, Nick, in some of these situations,
Go for it, Matt.
I think it's part, of course, my background in public relations. I've worked in PR for a while, so there's still a little bit of that in me. But also, I'm a journalist. I try to be objective. I try to look at all sides of the story. So, see, Juwan Taylor doesn't commit a penalty. He may average a penalty every week. He doesn't commit penalties every week, though. See?
So to answer Real KB's question, Snead got a lot of penalties too, though, didn't he? Yes, because Snead and Joshua Williams are on the same level. Snead had 17 and 6 decline. All of his were either defensive holding, defensive pass interference, illegal contact. Yeah, so all of his are physical corner play.
L'Jarius Snead's penalties were, as Steve Spagnuolo liked to say, the cost of doing business.
Yeah. Yeah. So he had 9 DPIs last year, and then let's see, 6 defensive holdings. But hey, Matt, you want to hear this one?
Wait on me.
Juwan Taylor still led the team in penalties last year at 19 with 2 declined.
This is correct. Yes, accurate.
Yeah. Josh Williams was only at 5 last year, so he's got that going for him.
See, there's an upside to everything, Nick.
Yeah.
Martine back with another super chat. What about protecting Patrick for a deep ball? They'll think it's a run, and this way Patrick can take 5 seconds to hit the breadbasket. I mean, I don't remember the last time that the Chiefs were able to protect Patrick Mahomes for 5 seconds. That's the problem.
Yeah,
even if they had a 6 lineman in protecting Patrick Mahomes for 5 seconds, it would be a problem for this group right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how long Hollywood Brown's pass was in terms of protection when they tossed it up to him. That's probably the closest, and before that would probably be Xavier Worthy, and Pat still had to get rid of that ball before that time. So I don't think that was 4 seconds either. But unfortunately, the 03 Chiefs offensive line will not be playing in this AFC Championship game this weekend. So I don't. Yeah, in this league in the NFL now. Right now, anything over 4 seconds is a luxury. And that takes you having, 1, a really good O-line coach, and 2, investing heavily in an offensive line that can pass protect for that long.
Yeah, and I remember you looking at some of those pockets that Josh Allen had against the Chiefs.
Yeah. Did his taxes back there.
It was just like, what if Patrick Mahomes
he itemized his deductions, and he looked over it. He's like, yeah, that was good. Called his bank to double check that that was good, and checked his 401k, make sure that was good. He's like, I think I got all the proper paperwork. He did it. He had TurboTax do a fact check on everything. And then at that point, he's like, you know what? I think I'm throwing it to Amari Cooper.
So if Patrick had that kind of time, Martine, yes, you're correct. He can hit a lot of deep balls, but that's been the challenge for this group. So we'll see what they can do. Thanks for the super chat, Martine. Appreciate that. Let's see, where
Hold
were
on.
we
For
going?
Casey Harold, the 03 line was Willie Rofe, Brian Waters, Casey Wegman, Will Shields, and John Tate.
Yes, just a couple of Hall of Famers.
Just a few.
What did you think of Jaylen Watson's performance on Saturday? And even though, hey, we're not big fans, I mean, I can't speak for yourself, Nick. I'm not a huge fan of PFF's numbers, but they thought, hey, that Jaylen Watson was Jaylen Watson. I mean, his average, this grade on Saturday was pretty much spot on with his season grade. So
I have no idea what PFF was. Don't care either. So, and I'm not going to go on a rant about that because no, thank you. But look, Jaylen looked fine. Like he looked like he's getting back into rhythm and everything, and you hope he can be great this week. you hope there's a chance for him to be great next week too. But you're really hoping this week he can get them to where they need to go, and he could be a big difference for him if him and Trent are able to lock down the two keys of that wide receiver group, which in my opinion is Khalil Shakur. That's a big one. And then they've just got to decide if Amari, because the kicker is Amari Cooper hasn't been the same since he had to leave the team for a personal reason real quick. He just hasn't been the same since then. And Keon Coleman he had a really strong early on season, but like Keon Coleman, since he came back from, I can't remember if he had wrist injury. I think he had a wrist injury.
I think so.
He hasn't been the same player because him and Amari both had wrist injuries at one point, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Keon had 2 receptions in the playoffs so far, and yeah, since November. I'm just gonna do December because he had 1 catch on November 3rd, but yeah, since then he's only had 7 catches since he came back from that injury. So he hasn't been up to the level he was before at times where he was kind of Josh's go-to guy there at various points. And I mean, to go-to guy, I mean like 4 or 5 receptions. Like, I mean, he had the big one against the Titans on October 20th where he had 4 receptions for 125 yards. But in Amari Cooper, I'm going to go look up his game log real quick. But here's the thing I will say. Well, just to buy some time so you guys aren't getting bored, is while I'm looking this up, is Amari Cooper, that trade for him is the reason the Bills are in the AFC Championship game right now. Because that was a lost offense before they traded for him and added his speed. And him being out there really helped all those other players get into the necessary receiving positions they needed to be for that offense to really kind of flow. Because before that offense was not flowing, and it may have lost to Denver. But that's the difference of just having Amari Cooper on the field, even if he's not the guy making the catches. So Amari had a big game. He only had the 2 catches against the Chiefs, 3 catches following week. His big game was against the Rams. He had 6 receptions for 95 yards. He had 14 targets, so my goodness. Didn't have any catches against the Lions, just 1 catch against Patriots and 3 against the Jets, and then he had 2 against the Broncos, and he didn't have any against the Ravens. So, yeah, kind of that offense, they haven't been able to honestly get back into as big of a flow as they had probably before that Chiefs game. I mean, it feels like right now, looking at the numbers, they really maxed out. I know it's going to sound weird to say, but it feels like they really maxed out against the Rams and the Lions. And then Patriots, they won that one. I mean, yes, they had 40 against the Jets, but that one didn't take too much. But yeah, since that Chiefs game, yeah, I mean, they in the snow against the Niners, they won 35-10. But yeah, it seems like that Rams and Lions game really zapped a lot of what they were doing on offense for the most part since then.
I mean, they have a deep group, but and they kind of rely on that depth. But you're right. I mean, Coleman has not been the same since the injury. Cooper, I mean, I feel like Cooper and Curtis Samuel both had their best games against the Chiefs. So maybe that's a bad ominous sign. I mean, they have Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox back, which I don't think either one of them played in the Week 11 game, right, Nick? Am I mistaken on that one? Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. I'm trying to remember.
Kincaid and Keon Coleman didn't, but I'm pretty sure Dawson Knox was in that game, and I remember Amare being in that game. Obviously,
Yeah, Amare was
those 2 catches. But yeah, they're Keon Coleman, Elam, Will Clapp, Spencer Brown, the right tackle, and Dalton Kincaid were not in that. They were not active for that game.
And like you said, Coleman, since he came back, he had 1 catch for 64 yards in his first game back. But overall, 9 catches on 25 targets. I mean, he had 1 game, 10 targets, 2 catches. I mean, he's just not been the same since he came back in the last 2 games, 1 catch, 5 yards. So, I mean, maybe he breaks out this game. Got to be guard against it, but I'm not betting on it.
Possible. No, anything's possible, and you can't discount anything with the AFC Championship on the line. The Super Bowl ticket around the corner if you do it right.
This is true. Jesus, how do the Chiefs match up with the Bills' defense? How can the Chiefs defeat them? I believe the Chiefs will need their best defense to win this one. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, and just, and some of the ways that the Chiefs can play differently than they did last time. I mean, you got to steal Josh Allen's ability to beat you up the middle, but I mean, the Chiefs have a good run defense. The Bills did not. I mean, outside of Josh Allen, the Bills could not run on the Chiefs in Week 11. That was positive.
Yeah. So the key to the Bills' offense is James Cook. I know it sounds weird to say, but James Cook is what makes that offense go for the most part, and his ability to run is a big part of what decides how their day is going to go. It's not the only way because they have more weapons. But, I mean, when the Chiefs played them, he was a high priority of what they were trying to stop in the run, and that's why James Cook only had 9 carries for 20 yards, and they tried to use Ty Johnson. He had 5 carries for 18, and then they used Ray Davis, who had five carries for 11 yards. But Josh Allen was the key with 12 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown. And James Cook technically had 2 touchdowns in that game in short yardage situations, so he was able to make it work inside the goal line. But a lot of what they were trying to do with Cook, because I mean they were trying to use Cook as a pass catcher, and he had 5 catches for 7 yards. But if you remember when the Chiefs played him the year before, he had that wheel route against the Chiefs that really kind of set that party off whenever they ended up winning that game. And when I go back to last year when they played James Cook had 10 carries for 58 yards. And then as a pass catcher, he had 5 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. So Cook has the speed you want. Ray Davis brings that change of pace, and Johnson, their other running back, kind of brings more of the physicality. And that's not on accident. The Bills want to be able to have all 3 to be able to use different parts of the run game depending on their opponent. But James Cook is the guy who stirs that margarita or whatever drink they have up in Buffalo. So like that's that piece of that puzzle. But yeah, I mean he's the first key. Kincaid, just unfortunately he's athletic, but since he came in the league, he's injured half the time, and he had that back injury that teams were concerned about whenever he was going to be drafted, and that's why a lot of teams were hesitant to try to draft him in the first round. And he's been in and out the past 2 years because of injuries, so he's never really been able to kind of put his stamp on who he is as a player in the NFL because he's injured half the time.
When he's healthy, he's been pretty good. It's just, when is he fully healthy?
Not very often, unfortunately. Let's see, what other part is there? How the Chiefs can defeat him. On defense, Chiefs are going to have to contain Josh Allen. You're going to have to keep him in the pocket. Don't let him be able to run. And you're going to have to deliver some physical hits to him that are not to the helmet area and not above the neck. Going to have to be below the neck, and that's how they're going to have to get physical with him a handful of times. And they're going to have to do it before the whistle is blown and before he flops. Now, people are going to surprised say that, well, what are you talking about? Josh Allen is like Phillip Rivers when it comes to that type of stuff.
Josh Allen's a much better flopper than Patrick is.
Just very theatrical, and that's not a knock on him. It's just that's just part of his game. Sometimes he gets the calls for it, and he's able to make it work and help his offense out. So that's kind of his thing. But yeah, I mean, like the Bills ran a lot of crossers against the Chiefs, and that's how Curtis Samuel was able to make the difference that he did and score that 1 touchdown before Josh Allen had his final touchdown. And they used crossers a handful of times and everything. So The Bills know what the Chiefs are going to do for the most part. Chiefs know what the Bills are going to do. They've played each other so much. Sean McDermott knows Andy, and he knows Spagnuolo, and those guys know him, that they kind of all have a good idea with each other about what each other's going to be. The factor has been Joe Brady is the offensive coordinator. What is he going to do, and do the Chiefs have a good pulse on his tendencies?
Yeah, those crosser routes and some of the pick routes that the Bills run absolutely got the Chiefs a couple of times in that game. I would think that on these next questions, Nick, that there was some plotting together if they were not all at the exact same time. So I know that these were three independent thoughts. But we have DJ asking, Bills D ends don't appear to be as good as the Texans. Could you see the Chiefs putting Tooney back at guard and starting DJ? Ed Oliver versus Caliendo worries me. Mr. was the next question. Are you worried about Mike Caliendo against Buffalo's interior? And then the next question, Nick, is DJ Humphries at left guard replacing Caliendo at option, Tooney at left tackle. That's a little bit more outside the box, but all three in the same area, Nick. And I mean, am I giving anything away by saying that you and I broached the subject earlier today?
No, I mean, look, here's I said on the podcast on Sunday, and I'm gonna say it again here. If I'm in the Chiefs' shoes, I start DJ Humphrey at left tackle, and I put Joe Tooney at left guard. Because you have a Super Bowl on the line right now, and you've got right now the Bills don't have tape on what DJ Humphrey is going to do snap after snap. They don't have any idea. They know what Joe Tooney is going to do because he's been on tape from the Browns game, that Texans game, the Steelers game, and then again in that other Texans game. And the way the Texans adjusted to it, the Bills are going to try some of those things the Texans did, and then they're going to try some different things to go after Joe Tooney and to go after Mike Caliendo. Like, that's going to happen. I mean, the Chiefs need a reliable run game to be able to go against the Bills and to be able to take some of the time and possession away from Josh Allen on the field. And what they were having to do to be successful in the run game is they were having to bring in another tight end or two tight ends, and they were having to double at the point and double along the defensive line. And that's before they got to backer. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But when they had their successful runs, that was normally what was involved in that process if it wasn't some type of misdirection. But with DJ Humphries, the tape teams will have on him is what he did in his first game against the Chargers. They're not going to have a ton of confidence in what they're seeing against the Broncos because it's not the entire Chiefs offensive line and how to attack it for the most part. So there's not a lot of tape on him to where they can still have some unpredictability in a good way and be able to surprise some teams and kind of maybe get a little bit better play down by down collectively with those five than they did this past week against the Texans. Now, is the Bills' defensive line as good as them? No. Ed Oliver is the star of their defensive line. That is the guy that's the number one guy for that defensive line. He's going to disrupt some stuff. That's why you need Trey Smith and Joe Tooney as your guards, and you want Creed as your center to help negate him and allow him to not be as disruptive. So, and for people that don't know what the Chiefs were doing, what the Chiefs were having to go against in terms of pass protection, the Bills were taking three defenders, and I still want to credit Mitchell Schwartz for this because he's the first one to see it. But what the Bills were doing is they would put wherever the Chiefs had their 3 wide receiver set or 4 wide receiver set at times when they either motioned somebody over or had a back go out there, they were taking in a defensive end, putting them as a wide 9. They were taking the defensive tackle, making them typically, if they could, they were making them a wide 5, but if they had to make them 4, occasionally they could, and then they were putting the other defensive tackle essentially is either a wide 3 or a head up 2 that's angled, or a 2 that's kind of angled inside. And what they were doing is they were crossing the face to the left guard, Caliendo. They were crossing the face of the right guard on his inside between him and Creed in that A gap. And then that wide 9 was going upfield. And then they had the other wide 9, Will Anderson, going upfield. He's hitting to a certain point. And what they were doing with that design is they were trying to do it to the strong side of the formation. They're trying to do it the formation with the trip side because they were trying to contain Mahomes. They were trying to discourage him from rolling to the right and being able to have extra time to sift through their zones, get defenders to find, the voids in a longer pace time and stop their coverage from breaking down. And then they were taking Will Anderson and they were bringing him back at a certain depth to make Mahomes just a little bit nervous at times if they could, like earlier in the year, to see if they could rattle him a little bit and disrupt it. And the Texans were playing various zones to the sticks at times. They were playing zones at certain spots, and they were doing that to try to disrupt the Chiefs from being able to be the rhythm. 1, to be quick passing, 2, to be rhythm, and then 3, above everything else, to take away Mahomes' ability to create after the snap. So then what the Chiefs did to adjust to it is the Chiefs said, okay, you want to do that? That's cool. We're going to have our wide receivers run your zones out of the middle of the field, and then we're going to have Travis Kelce sit down there. And then Travis is going to wreck you, and so you better adjust yourself. You better adjust the coverages before you wreck yourself with Kelce. And they didn't. That's why Kelce had 117 yards. Noah Gray had a couple catches off that. But that's why the tight ends had the success they did, is because the Chiefs at times were like, okay, we'll run Worthy up here, take that safety in that corner. We'll run a route underneath this, take that away. There was a 3rd and 6 where the Chiefs did something, and I loved it, and I hope I see it more and more, is it was a 3rd and 6. The Texans were dropping back to the sticks on 3rd and 6 in their zone coverages. And then the Chiefs had routes specifically designed to take them back even more, 5 more yards. And Travis came over the middle on essentially would be a delayed tight end release slant. Caught it, boom, first down, converted. So the Chiefs in that late second half, 3rd quarter and 4th quarter, they adjusted to what the Texans were doing. That's why DeAndre probably didn't get the snaps that everybody wanted him to. That's why Hollywood Brown didn't get the snaps he wanted him to. That's why Justin Watson didn't see the field for the most part, is because the Chiefs were like, okay, these corners are good. They're sitting on specific routes that they saw in the last game. They're not playing man coverage like they were in the last game. They adjusted to us, so we're going to adjust to them. And then the Chiefs did what they had to with what the Texans were giving them, what their O-line was capable of doing, and they destroyed them with the tight ends and moved on to their 7th consecutive AFC Championship. So the Chiefs may have not won the way that everybody wanted the path to go. The Chiefs may have not executed to the path people wanted them to go or the desired win that they had, but they found the path within that game that allowed them to come away with a victory and to go to the AFC Championship and to keep their Super Bowl hopes alive. So what I ask for every single person that's watching this is understand Najee Johnson may have more snaps than you want. This person may have less snaps than you want. DeAndre Hopkins may not have as many snaps as you want. This player may not have as many targets as you want. But part of the reason why is because NFL teams have to adjust to what the game plan is. And so sometimes they may have had 15 plays that they wanted to dial up with DeAndre Hopkins this past week, but the way that the Texans were doing that zone coverage, how quickly that pass rush was getting there in 2.5 seconds or whatever it may be, that went out the window. And they're like, okay, so we were going on this snowy, icy road down I-70. It's blocked at, and I'm just going to take an example from when I was at the Combine a long time ago. Dave Stewart and I were coming back one year from the Combine. It was snowy. It was icy. Dave and I went through freezing rain in St. Louis. That was not fun driving on a highway. Then we got through St. Louis. Then we had to stop at, I can't remember where it was at along the way, but we had to stop off at, it was a cool area in outside of St. Louis, and we stayed there for the night because I-70 was shut down in Columbia. So the Chiefs situation is a lot like that. They had a plan. They were going to head west on I-70. The road got shut down, so they had to take an exit ramp, and they had to adjust to it. And that was my long-winded answer for the 3 questions and probably 5 other questions.
I feel like that was a rant, though. That's why I was letting you cook.
Not necessarily a rant, because a rant involves me yelling more.
And I bet it was St. Charles. So that sounds like that's always a good place to stop.
It was. I'm gonna look now. I'm gonna look along the way here. So
St. Charles is always a good place.
It wasn't St. Charles. It was another area, and I would go. I would go back to that hotel again. It was a nice hotel.
If it was Wentzville, I refuse to believe it. But
actually, dude, I do think it was Wentzville.
No, nobody. Nah, there's no.
I'm pretty sure it was Wentzville. Let me double check.
I'm getting ready to make snide St. Louis jokes, and I shouldn't because,
Oh.
there's probably some fine St. Louis fans in here.
Yeah.
Lightning round edition answer to this is that one takeaway for me from the Texans game was that Will Anderson lined up in a wide 9 on the right side, which is going up against the left tackle, more in this game than in any other game all season. And that's because I think that the 2 + 2 = 4 explanation of that is that Texans realize from the film that they've seen that Joe Thuney's weakness is his length and his arms. So they take advantage of that because, you've got to be able to reach on those wide 9s. Nick, you will explain better than I ever have, but
no, you're good.
You've got to be able to get your hands on the defender when they're lined up out that far outside. And Joe is as fast as anybody. I mean, he's as good as anybody with his footwork. He's technically great. 32.25-inch arms. That's why he's a guard. It's why he's an all-pro guard. He just can't reach out there. And now that teams have figured out that the best way to attack Joe Thuney is to just line up as wide as you can and go after him on his outside, they're going to keep doing that. So to your point, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of film on DJ Humphries, but guess what? He's got the length to get his hands on those guys. So they're going to have to beat him in other ways. And Joe Thuney is an all-pro left guard. If that's what helps you run the football better, especially in the red zone, you got to find a way to get Joe Thuney the left guard. And if that means starting DJ Humphries, that might just be what the Chiefs do this week. So we'll see. But I think they got to take a seriously hard, long look at it. So,
all right, Matt. It was Wentzville. It was the Fairfield Inn and Suites because Dave and I went to Steak and Shake across the street because it was the only thing open. Then we got gas at Quick Trip. Then we got 2 hotels at the Fairfield Inn. So it was Wentzville, Matt.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Steak and Shake ever. So that's a plus. I am surprised that anybody ever had a good time in Wentzville, but that's just me. Your mileage may vary.
Wow, Matt.
Let's see. Oh, DJ, we have already talked about who's going to be the spy on Josh Allen. So we'll set you up. If you missed that, I'll make it easy for you because I am going to do the chapters tonight. I swear, everybody. So don't worry. You can go back and
I know it's been asked a couple times. The one I want to see is Jaden Hicks. So what I want to see last time is what I want to see this time. And if it's Justin Reid too, I'm good with that as well. But if I was in the Chiefs' shoes, I would love to see those guys potentially being a spine, being that fifth person that helps keep Josh Allen in a contained position when somebody gets out of their lane, and somebody will at some point.
Here's a lightning round question for you, Nick. Kind of just a yes or no for me from Dan. You think the Chiefs O-line will hold up better against the Bills than they did against the Texans?
As long as they stay healthy, yeah.
I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, but it was not a great effort against the Texans. So you're hoping they'll hold up better. But I think there's a potential that they can, because I do think that the Texans had some advantages with just their skilled players. But Pie Desert, and I know, Nick, this is kind of an off-season question. Maybe we should discuss that at some point. But has Joe Thuney been around long enough and done enough with the Chiefs to go into the Ring of Honor?
For me, no. If I was voting, no.
Need another year or two?
For me, no. Just I wouldn't be voting yes on that personally.
Yeah, Chiefs Kingdom. I don't really know the nature of McCole. I know I try to never, break down anybody's mysterious tweets. I stopped doing that, Tyrann Matthews' first year in Kansas City.
Mysterious tweets with Matt Derrick.
I mean, we'll find out for sure tomorrow, but like we discussed earlier, I just thought for me to find a spot for him right now, and he was doubtful going into the game on Saturday, which would usually be an indication that maybe just not 100% healthy yet. So we'll see what happens. Angie would love to see another Leo Chenal blocked kick against the Bills. Have you noticed any weakness on their special teams? Ooh, that would probably definitely be a better question for you, Nick.
I haven't gotten that far in tape study right now.
Same here.
So I don't know. But I mean, special teams being on point is going to be big this week, and that's because it was big against the Texans. I don't think the Bills have the same miscues that the Texans did, but the key thing is holding on to that ball and kicking punt returns. That's number one, because you can't give any possessions away this week. Neither team wants to give away possessions, and that's the easiest way to end up messing up and giving up a possession. And it burned the Ravens last week because Lamar had that ill-advised throw that turned into an interception when him and Rashad Bateman were on the same page, and then Lamar had the fumble, partially because of the field that ended up being a touchdown, and then obviously the other one, Mark Andrews had that fumble when he was trying to cut back in the open field, very similar to what Kelce had against the Bengals a couple years before. It felt very reminiscent to that. So at the end of the day, hold on to the ball is going to be key more than anything else. And I mean, look, Leo's got 3 blocks. He had that extra point block against the 49ers in the Super Bowl, had the Broncos one, had this one. So I hate to say it, but the Bills are going to be keeping tabs on where Leo's at.
And like Leo said over the weekend after the game, I mean, the block kick play that they had on against the Texans was the exact same one that they ran against the Broncos. Right. So they can run it again. I was really intrigued, and I'm curious to see if Dave Toub's going to do it again this week. But the pre-snap motion that he used on kickoffs against the Texans to just put a little bit of worry into the kicker. I'm wondering if he's going to just continue to run that during the postseason, because he's got experienced guys on that team, Nick. I mean, they all know what they're doing. I mean, Justin Reid's one of the best on the edges. And I mean, if that does give you an advantage of just, making the kicker just have a little bit of, what in the world is going on in his head, I mean, it's got to be a little bit of an edge.
We'll find out.
Corey, what are your thoughts on getting Kareem more involved in the pass game?
I mean, look, however many touches you get Kareem is never a bad thing. Anytime you can get him in open space, he can do some damage. It'll be interesting to see how Bernard and Matt Milano are this week when the injury reports start to come out, because I can't remember, both of them got dinged up. I know Milano's dinged up a little bit, and I know Rupp, the safety's dinged up a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, Kareem, look, when you get him open space, he's still a physical runner, and he can still do just as much damage as running between the tackles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. It's just whatever you can do to get the ball in his hands. Let me go back to my window here. All right, it's been a long day. Apparently, I can't think straight there. I lost my window again, Nick. Dr. Ozzy, Trent didn't play in the slot. He did play one snap, but do you think with Watson back that will change this time? I don't know if I see it, Nick. What about you?
Whoever they think are the 2 biggest threats for this game is who McDuffie and Watson are going to have to be on. Like, if they're going to move Khalil Shakur around, they're going to move him around. Shakir, sorry, whatever. Then, Khalil's a big part of that offense, and screen game, slot, run around. So whatever they feel like they got to do to match up wise on that, then I fully expect Steve Spagnuolo to do it. Again, it's the AFC Championship game. Super Bowl is on the line. And as Dan Fouts says, and Waterboy, and I keep using it over and over again, potentially last game of the season. Can't hold anything back now.
That is true. I was going back and look. I mean, Chamari Conner played majority in the slot. I mean, and that has been the trend. Although he played more snaps in the slot than he has in the last, looking at it here, 1, 2, 3, 4 games. So it's a little bit of a change in strategy for a little bit of time. But Chamari Conner's back as the guy in the slot, so I don't know if it's necessarily going to change. I mean, but you're right. I mean, Trent McDuffie's going to go wherever they think is the toughest receiver, that guy that they've got to shut down. Alex, who has been your biggest surprise player on offense and defense? Can be surprising bad or good.
I think Xavier Worthy's growth has been really impressive, and obviously Noah Gray's really kind of stepped up this year. In terms of defense, I mean, Jaden Hicks seems pretty comfortable, and there's at times where Chris Roland Wallace really seems to start to be able to find his stride now. And then Leo can be used a multitude of ways, and selfishly, I want to see the Chiefs. If Leo can't be a linebacker on some plays, I really want to see Leo be a pass rusher on some plays this week. Even if he's going against Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, I think he could bring depending on what they want to do, I think he could bring some interesting physicality at times. And maybe a couple times he sneaks in as a spy there as that fifth guy to where he's that spy. I'd like to see that too.
I'm trying to think if I could really have a dramatic. I mean, we could go the other direction as far as what's been the, maybe disappointing players. And obviously, I mean, offensively, just that the Chiefs didn't get what they wanted from either Kingsley or Wanya at the left tackle spot, I think was obviously the biggest disappointment that stands out. Defensively, I mean, I know some folks who are going to want to go to Najee and not Jaylen, but Najee and Joshua, and being just the fact that one of those two guys couldn't snag that job. But I mean, Nazee's still coming back from the knee injury, so expecting anything. I mean, I think Najee has probably given you exactly what you should and could expect from him this year. I mean, next year is going to be the year that if Najee is going to be the breakout player that the Chiefs think that he can be, next year's the year. I mean, if you want to say that Joshua is a disappointment, I can't necessarily argue with you. I'm just not sure there's anybody in the defense that I could really point to and say, that guy just hasn't been as good. I mean, I still think that if Felix is going to break out, it's going to be in year 3. I mean, he just seemed like a year 3 guy to me all along. So I'm holding out till next year, Nick.
All right, Matt.
Let's see. Brandon can't multitask tonight either. So see, I feel like I've got a compadre there. I mean, Tyler asked it flat out. Do you think that McDuffie should follow Khalil Shakir? Oh my gosh, I said it so perfectly earlier today, and then I knew I was going to botch it.
Just asked and answered last time, so not more I can add to what I've already answered.
Nothing more to add to it.
Was this literally the question before?
Well, maybe I wasn't paying attention, Nick. Infopocalypse. Do you think KC didn't spy Allen last time specifically because they didn't want Allen to be as prepared when they do it this time in the playoffs?
It was something you and I both talked about at one point and kind of wondered if they're like, maybe just, again, as I've written in many preview articles each year, when I give the Chiefs a regular season loss to the Bills, I say that the Chiefs are okay with losing the battle to win the war. Yes. So not showing everything that you've got ready for the Bills in a regular season game that's more than likely not going to matter for the most part versus the playoff game that decides if you're going to the AFC Championship or if you're going to win the AFC Championship or if you're going to go to the Super Bowl, then that's when you put all the marbles out there.
Yeah, I mean, and I certainly think it changed at the end, but gosh, there were just times in that Buffalo game that I did feel like at times that the Chiefs were not necessarily playing vanilla, but maybe, I don't know, vanilla with a splash of caramel. I mean, it was, I was just like, gosh, I just feel like we're going to see a different strategy in the postseason. And maybe it's because we always do every year.
Nope. They've given us that opportunity to come to that conclusion.
Yes, that the Chiefs do what they do, and then they learn from it and do something different the next time around with good teams.
Yep.
How big was the Mahomes interception on the first play and Mahomes throwing Worthy to the sidelines in the Week 11 loss? And do you think they'll be able to change that this time around? I mean, worth noting, Nick, last time the Chiefs turned over the football was in Week 11 against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize is that was Patrick Mahomes' last interception this season was that play that Mac Daddy's referencing. So, yeah, that was the last time that Patrick Mahomes threw an interception. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. So like that wasn't by accident. That was that was Mahomes realizing that he can't keep playing hero ball at times. So then he's been more cautious, taking the sacks sometimes, throwing the ball away sometimes, and lived to hold on to the football for another play. So that play had a big influence. And then the Worthy sidelines thing, as long as Mahomes has time to be able to toss the ball to him, Worthy's getting more comfortable adjusting to the football. And I think if they have that chance to do a shot play like that, I think it would go a little bit differently this time.
And two things come to my mind. One, I don't think that Mahomes has thrown a pass as bad as that one that he threw for the interception since then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has been smart with the football. And two, I mean, you talked about it all season long. I mean, Worthy is getting better and doing better and making sure that he stays where he's supposed to stay, that he doesn't get too close to the boundary, and that he's staying within the red line, Nick.
Yep.
He's getting better at it.
Mm-hmm. He's grown.
Um, Uncle Charlie, any talk
Uncle
of
Charlie. That's how I read it.
any talk of getting LRZ, Luis Rezamet, on the active roster for the Bills game to provide some speed to the backfield, and he knows the playbook? I mean, no. Sorry if you were hoping, but no.
To be with the Bills or to be with the Chiefs?
Think for the Chiefs.
Either way, it's playoff time. Nobody's making any moves like that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, still a lot of upside, but not ready for prime time quite yet.
Yeah, he never even got off the practice squad with the Jaguars. And they didn't sign him to a futures deal either, so they weren't that enamored with him.
Steamin' Demon. DeHop didn't have a catch Saturday night. Will there be hard feelings since Andy flushed DeHop's 184 game catch record? It's like 12 years of effort gone. No, I talked to DeAndre after the game about it and pointed it out to him, and whether he was just playing it off or not. I mean, when I said that his streak came to an end, he's like, "Really?" It's like I didn't have a catch. I mean, but that was to his point, which is then the follow up, which is, do you care? And he's like, no. He's like, and his immediate answer was, I've never been this far in the playoffs in my entire career. I'm going to be playing in my first conference championship game. It matters a lot more. And I mean, he still has his regular season catch streak going, so that will still be a thing that people think about and everything. I still think that the Chiefs should have tried to get him a ball late in the game. I don't think the Texans would have minded. They would have known what the situation was, even if it was just a bubble screen, just a jet sweep, anything that you could just get him a quick pass. Take a 3-yard loss. I mean, it didn't matter at that point. Like I said, I think the Texans would have understood. But no, there's not going to be any hard feelings. It was just a matter of the way the game played out. And I mean, let me tell you, I have not seen many guys, come in to a team like this and just be absolutely zero concerned about their own stats and numbers and more concerned about W's than DeAndre Hopkins. It's just remarkable how focused he is on this team and the wins and a ring.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you want to know what he really would like to catch?
He'd like to catch some confetti, or catch like some beer from a bus on a parade in some mid-February.
Yeah, he'd like to catch one of those Super Bowl rings for his hand. So I think that's really what he's worried about.
Pepe, what's your favorite feel-good story from the Chiefs this season?
I don't know. Season isn't over yet.
It's not over yet.
There's two certain stories I'm waiting on if they win a Super Bowl.
Now I'm curious. But I know you're not going to tell us because you don't want to jinx it.
No, you'll find out if it happens.
Well, I will just say that to this point, I mean, my easy feel-good story is Kareem coming back to Kansas City and making a home for himself. I mean, we'll see if he's been out here beyond this season, but he's been a great teammate. He's had a lot of fun. I mean, he's laser focused on winning too. DeAndre, it just impresses me even more because I said like the streak and everything. I mean, just the number of times that he's just said, I don't care about these streaks. I mean, they're cool. I like them at all, but I like wins and I want to win a Super Bowl and I want to win playoff games. Just saying that more has really impressed me. But Kareem with everything that happened, and I mean, and I know there's some people who have not jumped on the Kareem bandwagon, and I understand that. I completely get it. I mean, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have reservations. You have every right to have reservations about Kareem, but the fact that he seems to have turned his life around and now has come back and has had this rejuvenation story. I mean, that's what you wanted to happen when the Chiefs let go of him. Their dream was that one day Kareem would be in a spot where he could do this. I never thought it would happen. So the fact that it's happened is, pretty cool. Let's see. Can we get some more thoughts on Sirianni from Nick? I'm intrigued.
I don't know what thoughts you want. He's Todd Haley 2.0. I don't know what to tell you.
I wonder where Todd is these days.
I don't remember. He's on Twitter. I know that. But look, I mean, Nick tries to do everything he can to be like Todd, and I remember I had to deal with a lot of the Todd Haley years, and they weren't enjoyable. And waiting an hour for his press conference for him to show up for his own press conference instead of just scheduling the time at that point. Well, he comes in with his Diet Coke, and it is what it is. But the Todd Haley era will always make me appreciate the Andy Reid era.
I've heard plenty of stories about Todd Haley like showing up for a press conference that's 3 hours late, and
not necessarily 3 hours, but routinely an hour to hour and a half, to where you're sitting there waiting. Luckily I they were early enough in the morning. I wasn't pressed to have to call another photog to come in and shoot, because I had to leave and go edit the show that we're going to use sound from Todd on. But yeah, no, it was the only time he was ever on time was at the Chiefs training camp press conferences, because they were just right there. Like, it was just right off the field type of thing, versus him being somewhere in the building. You're not 100% sure where Todd's at.
I don't think I'm telling tales out of school here, because Adam's retiring, and I think he appreciates all of his stories getting out there. But I did make a remark last week about, because we've just been sharing some reminiscence of the great moments in Adam Teicher's career. And every once in a while, I like just bringing up Todd Haley so that I can get a good Todd Haley story out of Adam. But I made the joke about how we really all should have known that Todd Haley was doomed once he had guys catching passes and porta potties out on the practice field. And Adam's reply was, "That was probably the smartest thing that Todd Haley ever did."
I love it.
So he's not wrong.
And so for people that don't know and never experienced that, what Todd would do is that for people that have been at training camp, there's a porta potty down there at the bottom of the field. They would, and that's for the players and coaches, whoever need to use it while they're down there in the field. They would make the running backs and occasionally receivers, but primarily running backs. Running backs would have to sit in the porta potty, and then there would be an assistant coach who would open up the door, and somebody would throw a pass to them. Players, and it was supposed to be them just quick react. And then they shut the door, do it again. Shut the door, do it again. Shut the door, do it again. Where they got 4 or 5 reps, they were out, next player's in. There were times it was dropped in the porta potty. And, that wasn't the most sanitary thing, but
that had to be like your worst nightmare, Nick.
As a germaphobe, it was not. I wasn't the one doing it. I wasn't going to shake hands with anybody who had to do that drill. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I hate to think about those balls being in rotation, though.
Tales old as time.
Yeah. Joe, are Chiefs fans nuts on thinking that we haven't had one brilliant Andy Reid play calling game yet this year? Seems like the ideas of Chiefs holding back might have some legs. What do you think?
I don't know. We'll see. I hope the Chiefs have a plan that none of us realize is coming, that none of us expect, and that they leave no doubt that they're going to the AFC Championship game, and that you don't have to stress out. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a physical game, and there's a chance the Chiefs may not win that game because the Bills have a really good team. So, to me, this is another 50-50 game right now, and I hope it's not 50-50 in the Chiefs' favor.
I mean, it's weird. We're talking about this because, obviously, teams as close as they are to getting to do what they want to do here. But it's hard for me because I don't know if I'm just so close to it that it's hard to accept some things, or if I'm just so close to it that maybe not seeing the big picture, in the sense that, hey, is this team maybe in some aspects as good as it was a few years ago? Maybe it's not. But is it? also an issue that teams have just caught up to the Chiefs and have countered them so much that, they now are able to give them a more difficult time? Maybe. So is Andy Reid calling game plans and executing game plans, putting game plans in that maybe 5 years ago would have been putting up 40 points a game, but now teams just figured it out, and so they're just having trouble, countering what the defenses are doing? I don't know. I mean, and I don't know if Andy Reid just calls things differently to the point that he's just like, look, it's all about winning. It's all about just advancing and getting through. I mean, I don't even know if he necessarily cares as much about the 1 seed or just making sure that he's ready for the playoffs. I mean, I think at this point, if he gets the 1 seed, great. If not, get ready for the playoffs. And then it's a whole different ball game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to really have a good grasp on that answer. And I'm probably not the most prescient guy in the world to, come up with a good answer for it, but.
All right, Matt, we really got to go lightning round. We got an hour's worth of comments and questions still to get through here.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Alex, follow-up question. If Travis did retire, are you confident Noah Gray can be the safety blanket for Mahomes for some years to come?
He's going to have to be, unless because Jared Wiley's going to be coming back from injury, and I don't know who else they'll have a tight end next year, and I'm not banking on anybody that's on the roster right now, so. Noah's going to have to – that'll become Noah's role initially, and we'll see where the Chiefs go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I have my doubts about being the complete safety blanket that Travis has been because I don't think anybody can. Jared Wiley, I think I had higher hopes for, but coming off the injury, that's going to be a challenge. And, I mean, if Travis did retire, then, I think the Chiefs obviously will have to bring in another tight end, and whether that's a veteran or a rookie or draft one, I mean, who knows? We'll see.
Nailed it, Matt. That's a lightning round if I ever
That's
heard.
A lightning round question for you. Chris, what forces KC to play their A game?
The chance at Super Bowl and three-peat being right within their grasp.
I was going to say themselves. It's just about going out there and taking care of business. Uncle Charlie. Most teams script their first 10 to 15 plays. Does that change after a long kickoff return like Nico had to start the game? 100% yes. Because when you're talking about the script, you're talking about, teams are assuming that they're going to be starting in their own territory, midfield, somewhere like that. Yeah, when you all of a sudden are starting the game, your first possession in the red zone, you're going to the red zone plays. You're no longer in your script. So yeah, I mean that's one of the oddities. I mean, you think to yourself, and that's probably something to consider, at least as a minor effect of that. Maybe not great drive, obviously, to start the game, is that as an offense, you're in your mindset, you've done your walkthroughs, everything to come out and run, set certain plays, and then all of a sudden, first play of the game, and it's like, nope, you're not running anything. You're running your red zone plays. And yes, you prepped them, you did that, but you weren't like thinking to yourself on the sideline, okay, here's the first play, here's the second play, here's the third play. All of a sudden, you're running 3 plays that you were not thinking about.
Yeah, so, to add on to what Matt said there and do it quickly, teams have stuff down to this is what they want to call on 2nd and 5. This is what the Bills are in most of the time. And I'm just going to use the Bills as an example. This is what the Bills are in most of the time when they're in 1st and 10. This is what they're in when they're in 1st and 5. This is what they're in when they're in 2nd and 5. This is what they like to run when they're on the right hash. This is what they typically run against 2 tight end sets. This is what they run here. And then they do their playbook based off of that. And then they have what they call a portion of their play call sheet that's good against all, that Matt Nagy's talked about time and time again. So no matter what the coverages the Bills are running, this play should be good against all coverages that they may go against and any type of thing out there. And they probably have audibles that are based on certain blitzes. And so, the play call sheet is kind of based on what they see tendency-wise and what they like play call-wise versus this coverage that they think they're going to see and what they're doing tendency-wise. Because if they look at it 73% of the time, they're in cover 1 on 2nd and 5 or something like that. And that's what they're kind of basing a lot of that play sheet on. So, yes, like Matt said, in red zone, it's a whole different thing that they've got and what they're expecting based on down and distance and hash mark. And they even have plays purely based on hash marks. If it's on the left hash mark, this is what they want to call. If it's on the right hash mark, they may call this. So play calling is more of a science than what people realize. And if Madden wanted to go to that level, then I think fans would have a lot of fun with that. And they could really honestly kind of get to experience more so what NFL play callers actually go through.
Yeah, Madden couldn't. I mean, bless their hearts, they could not come up with all the plays and structure the way that NFL teams do, and that they did. It would probably appeal to 1% of Madden players, but to the majority, it would probably just be overwhelming.
You can't say EA Sports it's in the game if it's not in the game.
There you go. Very solid point.
Uncle Charlie. Sounds like it.
Rick, why did DeAndre Hopkins get so few snaps against Houston? Kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, but bottom line is, I think it was just pretty much game plan. I mean, as far as how he was used and what role, it certainly could have been load management a little bit, but just for the idea of keeping him fresh for the next two games. But I think that's just kind of how the Chiefs want to use him right now. I mean, he's one of the best receivers, but I think they just want to use him in specific situations.
Yeah, you'll have to rewind for my answer because we're in lightning round now, Rick.
Let's see. Looking to see.
I like when you, you should keep making that noise when you're scrolling through.
We could go back to Uncle Charlie.
Man.
Why wasn't Prince Tegowanongo brought back to compete at swing tackle? I thought he played better than the backup tackle last season.
Got a feeling Uncle Charlie's a burner account now. That's a pretty good idea. What one of the burners it would be.
What?
It involves a fruit. A certain type of fruit you'd get at a grocery store. Not pineapple, not orange.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, anyways, I'll answer this last one for Uncle Charlie. Maybe Prince wanted a new opportunity because he couldn't crack the lineup here anymore and wasn't going to get that opportunity. So I can't remember if he went anywhere because I know at one point, can't remember if he came from the Eagles.
Checking to see if he was anywhere right now. He was selected by the Eagles drafted him.
Yes, no, I remember that part, but he went somewhere. I thought he went somewhere after Kansas City for a minute, but I know he was coming off that knee injury at one point.
Yeah, and I think that was. I mean, that was really it. I mean, yeah, he had that knee injury last year in September, and I mean, at his age, he's 27 now. I think it was his second knee injury. I mean, that's probably. I mean, that's just kind of the end of the road for NFL players. It's a cruel part of this business. That I mean that will happen to anybody. You get your one injury you can come back from sometimes. Second one, not everybody can, and so I think that's probably the situation there. So we haven't seen him at all post injury. So I imagine that was just the fact that injury was what kind of did him in. Unfortunately, paid it because he was a good dude. So. Oh, there we go. Eshak. Is the Chiefs' fourth and short game solid for this game?
If Joe Tooney's at left guard, Creed Humphrey's at center, Trey Smith's at right guard, you got a shot.
And that's where you bring in Martine's sixth offensive lineman.
That can help too.
I mean, I got no concerns whatsoever on fourth and short if you're giving the ball to Kareem. That's about it. But although, I mean, Kareem did get hit in the backfield, and I don't know if the Chiefs should be considering, running all of their, fourth and short, third and short plays from pistol, but it's what they do. So I guess that's just what they do. Okay, I'm going to go to Martine. Clarifying question here. So from the super chat, because we may not have answered it right. So the question goes like this: what if they were going to do a run, but we're really going to do an extra long deep ball to Hollywood and just have extra O-line? Would it work?
Depends how many defenders they're bringing and what pass protection they have out there. Because if the Bills are going to be in a cover one where they only got one safety high, they got a corner on each side, and depending on how you push them vertically with him and Worthy, maybe. But I mean, it's all going to depend on the play design and how many guys are dropping into either zone coverage or if it's man. So we'll see whenever they dial that play up and try to execute it.
I mean, it really kind of just depends a little bit just on what the defense is that you're working against too. I mean, if you're keeping in an extra lineman, you're taking away a potential receiver. So now, yeah, you may be protecting more, but if the defense reads it, they may decide, okay, well, we're going to drop 6 back in coverage and just cover one less guy. I mean, that's kind of what the Texans did a little bit, Nick. I mean, they weren't pulling in a 6th lineman; they were just keeping in their running backs and their tight ends that are at the end. But when the Chiefs were blitzing, I mean, they were getting beat because they were only had 3 receivers running routes, and the Chiefs had 6 defensive backs. So you can run into a mismatch numbers wise that way. So that's probably why you don't see it a lot. But the Chiefs, I mean, the Chiefs do throw out of 6 offensive linemen front, so they just throw the ball to the linemen. Oh, there you go. Our off-topic question of the day, Nick. Luttrell, best game day football meal.
At the stadium or what?
How do you want to answer it? It's an open universe question.
It's either pizza, nachos, or chili dog. I don't know. Maybe barbecue if they're open.
I mean, barbecue is usually my choice and preference. So I'll put me down for that.
All right, there you
go. Let's see, what do we got here? Does Andy have to say who's going to be the left tackle by Friday, or can it be a surprise on game day? Oh, it could be a surprise.
It could be an abracadabra. You don't find out till the warm-ups on Sunday before at 3:30 or 4.
Okay, I know we're almost done, but I do myself want to stick around until 9. If you need to leave early, Nick, you can.
Yeah, but you're fine. We've got this far.
If you're okay, I'm going to turn this next question over to you for a few minutes.
You only get 2 minutes, so you better make it count. Is Trent McDuffie a future Hall of Famer if he keeps this up? Who else on this team will be in the Hall of Fame conversation? Not right now. Just call your shot based on how they project. I mean, McDuffie's going to – anybody who you want to call a Hall of Famer from a Chiefs perspective, I'm going to go Chiefs perspective first. They're going to have to be with this team for 8 to 10 years. So, I mean, they've got to build a legacy here. It's not just a 5-year career. It's not just a 6-year career, but it's like a decade, 8 to 10 years of them being here. So somebody like Harrison Butker, you would see potentially in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Somebody like Patrick Mahomes is going to go in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Travis Kelce is going to go in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Andy Reid's going to go in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Brad Veach is going to go in the Chiefs Hall of Fame. Those guys have already locked that up. Somebody like Trent McDuffie, you want to be here for an 8-year span. Creed Humphrey is on his way. Obviously, he needs to get through the full contract that he signed, maybe get through another contract after that, and then that's a possibility. From a receiver perspective, I mean, it depends. There might be a chance maybe Tyreek could be in the Chiefs Hall of Fame because the impact he had and how they won a Super Bowl with him. But if you're looking at any guys that are going to be on this team from a Chiefs Hall of Fame perspective, that's going to be that. The thing from a actual, National Pro Football Hall of Fame thing, what I'm going to tell you on that front, this is what I always say to people. Can you tell the story of the NFL game, or can you tell the story of pro football without that person? Or does that person have to be included? So somebody like Andy Reid, you cannot tell the story of pro football without Andy Reid. You cannot tell the story without Patrick Mahomes. You cannot tell the story without Travis Kelce, especially now that he surpassed Jerry Rice in the postseason. Butker has made a lot of clutch kicks, so there's a chance he'll be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame someday. In terms of other guys here, Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a guy that would easily be both in the Chiefs Hall of Fame and should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But a lot of these other guys are going to have to continue to build their legacy and build these moments for them to be able to be a part of that. So I don't know if there's any specific person that I can think of offhand that even if they get this three-peat, that they're 100% in there. I think they have to continue to keep building their legacy and their dominance. Thank you, Matt. I was running out of steam.
I bet you handled that like a champ.
Still, there's only so long I like tap dancing.
Because you are a champ.
There's only so long I like tap dancing. I didn't even have my tap shoes for it.
I bet you were great. I do like the question because I do think he's gonna.
Yeah.
He's on the right track. Got probably 8 or 9 more years at least to get in there. Oh, let's see. Oh, oops. We were further along than I thought there.
818s actually. I like that one.
You like that one? Okay.
Infopocalypse.
Infopocalypse always has solid ones. If teams are lining up on that wide on Tooney, could the Chiefs run the ball between the left guard and left tackle, resulting in a bigger hole?
So this isn't a week by week thing. This is what the Texans did last week. This was a Texan specific thing. That doesn't mean that the Bills are going to do the same thing, and it doesn't mean that other teams haven't done it to the level the Texans did. And you need certain strength along the defensive line. You need a certain level of athletes to be able to execute what they did. So that was a page that D'Amico took from part of the 49ers Seahawks scheme, because the 49ers and Seahawks used to do that a lot too. So he kind of pulled that from that scheme, and Gus Bradley used to do it a lot with the Jaguars as well, because obviously he was a part of the Seahawks scheme. But yeah, so this isn't a every week you could try and do this thing. And could you run the ball? Maybe, but I mean, the way that they're doing this specifically is there's a certain way they're trying to cross the face. So in the way you're thinking about, could Joe kick it out and then Caliendo and Creed anticipate that 3-tech coming across their face and double him into next week? Sure. But that's only going to work for a couple plays, and the Texans are going to change it up on you. They're going to bring a linebacker in to fill.
Yeah, I mean, the theory is, I mean, once again, solid if you have maybe Joe Tooney type player at left guard. And that's not a knock on Caliendo. It's just reality. I mean, there's Joe Tooney's one of the best for a reason. So, I mean, you'd love to have a Joe Tooney that with 36-inch arms that could play left tackle and have a Joe Tooney at left guard.
Yeah, you get another one from Albert at 819.
Just doesn't exist. The Field Jays reporting that Trey Smith not getting extended and Chiefs aren't expected to use the franchise tag on him. Thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts because it's AFC Championship week, man. Like, that's off-season problems. And that maybe next week that you can start entertaining all that stuff and we can go from there. But literally, they're playing in their 7th consecutive AFC Championship this week. Right now, that is the thing to kind of focus on. How the heck do they beat the Bills? And I know the organization's probably focusing on that, and some of those guys are probably going down to the East-West Shrine Bowl when they start practices this weekend, and then I want to say the Reese Senior Bowl is coming up pretty soon after that in early February the following week. So, I mean, from the scouting departments, they're going to be focused on that for the next couple of weeks until they get to Combine. Then they'll probably start trying to figure that out and potentially where they go with that. But I'm just telling you right now, it's AFC Championship week, and then it's going to be – and if the Chiefs can win, then it's all about three-peat, man. Like, nothing else matters.
Yeah, I mean, I do have thoughts, but I feel like I should side with Nick here and just say enjoy the ride. It's going to be okay.
Nobody wants to enjoy the ride. Everybody wants to ask, like, off-season questions that we're going to get like 5-6 months to talk about relentlessly.
and I mean, and you still don't know. I mean,
no, we don't.
We don't know.
Conversations for most players don't really start happening until until right around the Combine time.
Yeah, and hey, I get it. And one, I mean, I do know the Chiefs don't really want to use the franchise tag in a situation like that. So if that's the case, and Trey Smith wants to test free agency, Trey Smith is going to get paid. That's just the reality of it. But never say never. So yep. I'm not. Okay, it's just a weird username. It may not be a burner account, it might be real, but and it's a legitimate question. So I'm going to assume it's real, but it's just a weird account name. Does Butker concern you at all? This continues to be a big question coming up from people. And I mean, honestly, Nick, no, I'm not concerned. I mean, and this past game was a good example because those were terrible conditions for kicking on Saturday at Arrowhead. I think it was about maybe the worst I've ever seen. It was worse than Miami last year. The Miami game in Kansas City with -4 degrees. That's how bad it was because of the wind. And you saw I mean, one, the Chiefs were smart because they didn't put Butker in trying to have to kick a 55-yard field goal or anything. They put him in appropriate situations, but he made all of his kicks.
But you can probably lose that question at some point if you want to there.
You think I can?
Yeah.
There you go. So I'm not concerned. Nick, you concerned?
I don't know what else the man's got to do. He made everything he wanted this week in pressure key situations, while a kicker across from him didn't.
Did not. Yes. Dez renewed his membership tonight, so thank you, Dez. Truly appreciate that. How much, if it at all, is a benefit that Buffalo hasn't seen Hollywood used in this offense?
Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt that they didn't see Jaylen a handful of weeks ago. Doesn't hurt that he didn't get to go against Charles Omenihu. Doesn't hurt that he didn't go against Hollywood Brown. So none of it hurts. All of it helps.
Didn't have a full DeAndre Hopkins in the offense at that point yet either. No, I mean there's a lot. So, and didn't see whatever left tackle the Chiefs are going to have at left tackle. So, I'm not sure. This question continues to come up. So KSU 1989 is not a shot at you, but we continue to get this. I mean, I don't know if if the question, I don't know if it's entirely true, other than the fact that you say hasn't looked as. I mean, but I'm just going to look up the numbers real quick. Unless you have a short answer or a long answer, Nick, on or a rant that you want to share.
I don't have a rant on this. I'm done with this.
You're done with this. You're past it.
The question. I mean, I'm fine with.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what you want from the man. All he does is win. All he does is win, and take you to AFC Championships.
Would it surprise you, Nick, if I told you?
He takes you to 7 on Sunday.
Would it surprise you if I told you that Patrick Mahomes this season has the highest completion percentage of his entire career?
No. Because you know why?
Because you don't care.
Like, they're in their 7th consecutive AFC Championship. The man has not played in anything other than an AFC Championship. I feel like taking crazy pills sometimes. Like, that's all the fan base ever wanted. That's all any of us ever wanted, was to see the Chiefs be able to play in one AFC Championship. They're playing in their 7th consecutive one. They have a chance to do a three-peat right now. So I'm sorry if he has a couple passes that aren't on point. I'm sorry if the O-line, doesn't have a couple things here. I'm sorry if Josh Williams isn't getting the snaps that somebody wants on defense, and they're questioning Steve Spagnuolo that's helped give him 3 Super Bowl titles in 5 years. Like, I don't know what the heck else you want. All they do is win. All they do is get the country to hate them. All they do is make other fan bases crazy and complain about the refs. That's all they keep doing. The Chiefs are the villain. You know why the Chiefs are the villain? Because they keep winning and they keep doing stuff that other teams want to do. I'm sorry, man. I'm done with the nitpicking, man. If you're not happy they're in their 7th AFC Championship and may get to a Super Bowl and complete a three-peat, then go root for a 2-14 team that doesn't have Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid or any of that stuff.
And it's really remarkable now that I'm looking at it and everything. Amongst, when you think about it from this standpoint, with Patrick's targets, 3 of his top 5 pass catchers this year were not on the team a year ago. 4 of the top 7 not on the team a year ago. He's missing his biggest pass catcher, one of his 2 biggest pass catchers from last year, in Rashee Rice. I mean, his biggest pass catcher is 35 years old and been taking a beating. And I mean, there are reasons that, maybe sometimes the ball and the receiver and the quarterback aren't on the same page. And do you want to talk about, we can talk about KSU's other question about the key to slowing down James Cook?
Getting in front of him before he gets the full speed. Like, I don't know what you want to tell you.
Not letting him get loose on wheel routes would be my key, but
keep for the Chiefs. Keep doing what they've been doing the past 2 games and run game. They'll be fine.
This is the question. Once again, no offense, Jagar here. This is the question that is going to be continuing to come until the end of the season, Nick.
It's fine. It's only a couple more weeks.
It's only a couple more weeks because, I mean, if Joshua Uche was acquired for, One team. I don't know. Maybe it's Buffalo. I don't know. Maybe Josh Uche is going to be the spy, Nick.
Then he'll get the necessary snap counts that fans want.
I mean, I gotta think that the simplest, most easy answer is that the Chiefs thought that it would be interesting to get Steve Spagnuolo, a speedy 3-4 type linebacker, edge rusher type, and see what Spagnuolo could do with him. And just found out it didn't work real well. Is it more complicated than that?
I'm good with that answer.
All right, we're wearing out Nick here. I'm looking to see if there's just anything. If we haven't answered your questions, I'm going to try to get to it in the chat later. Let's see if there's anything else last, because I've worn out Nick tonight. I feel like I've broken Nick.
You haven't broken me. It's just this is what it is.
It's what it is. The season's almost over, Nick.
It's certainly possible. We'll see how the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I feel like, no offense, Cali Cash, but I feel like if I ask that question of Nick right now, that he might just hang up on us.
No, you can answer it. I'm
not saying I want to answer it either.
Okay, well, it is your show.
I'll just say this, and you'll know exactly where it's going from. Tyreek is not going to return next season. No. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I now watch him return next season, and this will be used against me in a court of law.
I won't use it against you.
It's Eli Apple's burner. I just like a good Eli Apple reference.
Oh, reference. Okay, I know.
Yes. Lawrence, are Remigio's fumbles going to be a problem?
I mean, he's just had the one. I don't know.
I mean, he had the one in the preseason, but the one in the preseason I thought was a good defensive play. So I didn't hang on that as much as I think that everybody else did. Chiefs I think hung it on him a little bit. They were worried about it, but I mean, if the guy can get you in the red zone, I mean, I think you're going to live with that. So I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it's a huge. I don't think it's a huge issue.
I love the comment.
Sorry, I'm reading comments as I'm going through here.
Yeah, I love the comment at 8:59 there.
Oh dear.
From DB McGee. Put it on up there.
I'm getting to it. What do we got here? What?
Thank you, DB McGee. Thank you for watching and going out of your day to comment to us. Well, we've done this for 2 hours now. Appreciate that.
DB McGee, you're in my doghouse right now. But there, I don't exactly know what that means. I think it means that you're Jason. Was he the one with the hockey mask?
I mean, Clark Griswold had a hockey mask on when he was cutting down a Christmas tree. So could be anything.
Sports coffee.
No.
Okay.
I'm not doing that today. I'm trying to actually go to sleep at a legitimate time.
Martine wins. Aw, and Luttrell just sent you some money for lottery tickets. So
no, I can't. I'm not allowed to accept any money from the stream. I make no money off this stream.
Well,
and anybody from Scripps that I work for watching that has been made aware of that.
Well, that is true, but we'll see what happens. Aw, thanks, Brenda. Oh, everybody, you're the best. Even though you drive Nick crazy sometimes, you're still all the best. There you go, Nick. Your question to go out on. Ever thought Chiefs winning would be like winning like this?
No, I didn't. Just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it. Like, it's just weird that like the questions sometimes is, why isn't DeAndre Hopkins getting enough snaps? Why isn't Joshua Williams getting enough snaps? Why is Najee Johnsons getting this amount of snaps? And it's like, if those are the biggest concerns you have in the AFC Championship game, the team's doing pretty well.
It's great because if we were doing this 11 years ago, I mean, every other question would have been, why aren't the Chiefs receivers catching any touchdown passes?
Ooh, that would have been every week. Every week.
Exactly.
Every week.
Oh, don't worry, Lateral. I'm helping Nick out. So get his nieces some chicken nuggets. And see, we're moving the product here. Rick here. I want to thank Nick for sports coffee. Bought some here in Pittsburgh, and they've been great. See, Nick, I mean, we need sport coffee needs to be a sponsor. 41 is the mic. We can hook you up.
I don't know, Matt. That's got to go through our sales department. It's not write checks that we aren't involved in.
All right. Well, I'm going to get somebody on it, Nick.
Good luck to you.
Everybody, thank you for the great questions, the bad questions, the in-between questions. There's no bad questions. They're just questions that annoy Nick.
Why you always throw me under the bus on these? I don't get annoyed by questions. It's just I've answered. There's only so many times I can answer the same question, man.
Okay, that would be a better way to put it. Des.
Like
Nick,
people are genuinely curious about stuff. People that are genuinely curious about stuff, I'm happy to answer their question. It's just like that. It's normally like a 3 or 4 question max, and I'm willing to answer that same question.
Luttrell just wanted to see some AFC championships. Now he's got to see 7 in a row, plus some bonus stuff. Yada yada. There you go. All right. Well, thank you, Nick, as always, for joining us. Your appearance is greatly appreciated by me and so many others. No matter what DB McGee said, I'm gonna talk about timeout.
Shout out DB McGee.
Putting DB McGee in timeout. Everybody have a great week. We've got a lot of stuff coming for you because the Chiefs will be busy this week. There's a lot of people that will be talking this week from the podiums, coaches, players, a lot of stuff going on. It's AFC Championship week, so there'll be a lot of fun stuff coming your way, both here at Chiefs Digest, on the YouTube channel, on the website, at KSHB 41, where Road to New Orleans every single night, Nick.
Yeah, I got to go back to work tomorrow. Start doing that at 6:30. So it'll be 6:30 Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have a 6:30 I got to do Saturday for it. And Sunday I got to go to work at 10 a.m. for our pregame show. Do our pregame show from 10 a.m. to 11. And then I'll be there for our postgame show. And then you and I, after we get done with that, sometime after 11, you and I will finally both get home and tape a podcast sometime after midnight on Monday morning.
And then hopefully you have 2 more weeks of Road to New Orleans.
Certainly possible.
Everybody, we will see you for sure after the game on Sunday, win or lose. And
not immediately after the game.
Not immediately after the game, because there's a lot of stuff that has to happen after that. But we'll catch up with you at some point then. You'll probably also see a lot of stuff from both of us throughout the week at Chiefs Digest and KSHB 41. Everybody have a great week and take care, everybody. Enjoy the game Sunday.